Today we're going to continue our exploration of the chakras system and the endocrine glands of the body as we read the next chapter of my book, Healing, Wholeness God Realisation. So far we've taken a pretty in-depth dive into the root chakra and the sacral chakra. So today we're going to naturally continue on to chapter 20 of my book, which is titled The Solar Plexus Chakra and the Pancreas. So of course, we're going to be discussing and unpacking the solar plexus chakra. There's a lot of information here. So we're going to talk about the qualities of the solar plexus as a center. And then we're going to unpack and discuss the overexpression of this energy as well as the underexpression of this energy, looking at both diseased states and then states of wellness and wholeness, and how we work with the energy of this center to achieve and accomplish states of health, wholeness, and wellness. So there's a lot of information here. Once again, it's a very thick chapter in the book. So we'll just go slow and steady to give you the best chance and opportunity to absorb as much information as possible. Feel free to come back to different parts in the video at any time if you feel like you need deeper exploration and unpacking, but let's go ahead and get a feel for the solar plexus chakra and the pancreas. The solar plexus chakra, housed in the center of the upper part of the abdomen and associated with the color yellow, externalizes as the pancreas. The pancreas itself is a multifunctional organ. Its overarching role in the body is overseeing and directing the conversion of food into bioavailable fuel which can be used by the cells. It is an organ of great transmutation and transformation, facilitating and representing the process of taking life in and turning it into something practical and useful. In its way, a communicator between the external world and the body's internal environment. As an organ of the digestive system, the pancreas produces and secretes particular digestive enzymes which allow for the breaking down of certain foods, such as proteins, the building blocks of our bodies. As an organ of the endocrine system, it is responsible for producing and secreting a hormone called insulin, which is key in maintaining blood sugar levels and transferring glucose or sugar from the blood and into the cells where it can be used as fuel. Both of these functions are vital. They are robust and life-giving actions in the body, the product of each of these functions being the production of adequate energy and building materials to sustain life. The activity of the pancreas is akin to the activity of choosing to be alive, choosing to be here, to take up space, to gratefully receive and use the resources provided by the natural environment. It is not surprising, then, that the solar plexus chakra is often associated with the self. Where the root chakra is about safety, security, and presence in a physical body, the solar plexus chakra is about intelligent activity which is focused within the form world. Rather than associating this chakra with the ego or the separate self, which I have associated instead with the root chakra, I associate this center and, more importantly, the energy which flows through this center with the physically oriented mental body. The pancreas acts as a direct link between mind and body, a point at which form-focused mental activity, there are higher dimensions and realities of the mind which we will speak about later in connection with other chakras, is interpreted into biological action. It is not merely the will to live, but the activity of intelligence, of cognition and alertness, choice and deliberation, rather than automatic responses or reactions to the form world. It is a sense, a concept, and a championing of self. This connection with mental activity speaks volumes of the commonly referred to connection between the mind and the gut. Following the gut instinct, experiencing a personal attack as a blow to the guts, feeling sick to the guts as a response to mental or feeling-based phenomena, nervousness manifesting as butterflies in the stomach, an opening of the bowels when faced with fear or anxiety, as well as the proven connection between the gut microbiome and mental health. Anything which can be interpreted as a threat or a blow to the individual self can, indeed, be felt in the gut. This is your self-oriented mental activity conveying a message which hits your pancreas, where it spreads through your digestive and endocrine system to produce a response. The form-focused mind is the final bridge between the higher realities and the form world. It is a crucial point at which the soul individualizes and begins to experience itself as separate. Here, the soul can self-reflect and observe time and space, objects, and people which are apart from it. It is a point of separation and individualization. It separates us from our environment and allows us to interpret and internalize our environment. The pancreas and the digestive system in general performs a similar role in the body. It acts as a bridge between us and the environment, allowing us to receive from our environment and to convert that input into something which contributes to and serves the individual self. Self-determination, self-esteem, self-will as opposed to pure will, courage and personal power are housed in this center. Conscious and deliberate activity of the self in service of the self. This center is also a site of much turbulence, confusion, imbalance, and dis-ease for our humanity. Many of the chronic conditions of our modern age are either the direct or the indirect result of a misuse of this energy. Most foods, in fact all foods except for dietary fat, can be transformed into sugar by the body. Carbohydrates are present in all foods except for animal meat, and these carbohydrates are directly broken down by the body and converted into glucose, which is sugar in its bioavailable form. This glucose then enters the bloodstream so that it can be taken up by the cells, where it can be further converted into molecules of energy called ATP. The glycemic index speaks of how quickly and efficiently the body can break foods down into glucose, with foods of a higher glycemic index being quickly converted, causing a fast or immediate rise in blood sugar levels, and foods of a lower glycemic index being converted at a slower rate, causing blood sugar levels to rise at a more stable pace. Whatever the glycemic index, though, part of these foods will inevitably be converted into glucose. When blood sugar levels rise due to the presence of glucose, the body responds through a hormone cascade which causes the pancreas to activate and secrete insulin. The body does this because having a high level of sugar in the blood is dangerous for the body. At any one time, the body needs a total of approximately 5 grams of sugar circulating in the entire bloodstream, which is equivalent to 1 teaspoon of sugar. This glucose is necessary for the relatively few cells in the body which require glucose as their sole source of fuel. These cells being some of the cells in the brain, the inner medulla of the kidneys, and the testes. Most of these cells, or most other cells rather, in the body are able to use glucose as fuel, but they don't need glucose in order to function and survive. They can actually more efficiently fuel themselves by converting fat or ketones into energy. For most cells in the body, glucose is second choice. They can survive on glucose, but they actually thrive on ketones. More about this later. At doses higher than 5 grams, sugar in the blood becomes dangerous. It causes blood to coagulate and become sticky, and these crystallized clumps of glucose are harsh in the very delicate cardiovascular system, causing blockages in fine capillaries and causing nicks and tears in veins and capillary walls. If the blood becomes too sticky, blood flow to organs and tissues of the body can become restricted or even completely blocked off, which can cause tissues and organs to become oxygen deprived, leading them to rot or die off, and resulting in infections and wounds which fester because the immune system cannot direct helpful immune cells to the site via the circulatory system. The body perceives high blood sugar levels as a threat to all of its tissues and organs, and so directs the pancreas to secrete insulin in order to remove sugar from the blood as quickly as possible. Insulin enters the bloodstream and locks into receptor sites on the outside of the body's cells, signaling the cells to increase glucose uptake and to start burning through glucose as quickly as possible, turning it into molecules of energy which the body can more easily handle. The cells obey, gulping up glucose molecules and churning out ATP molecules. The body and the cells will use some of this ATP to fuel bodily functions for a time. But unless the body is being rigorously exercised and is expending a great amount of energy, the excess ATP molecules which are being pumped out by the cells as an emergency response to raised blood sugar levels need to be stored in the body's tissues. Thus, insulin not only signals the cells of the body to start burning sugar, but it also locks down fat cells in the body so that the fat cells can be used to store this excess ATP. This intake of energy causes fat cells to increase in size and weight as they store more and more energy than they or the body can realistically use. This is how a high carbohydrate and a high sugar diet causes obesity. The body is simply trying to protect itself against the continual inpouring of glucose, keeping glucose out of the blood by storing it in fat cells. But the fat cells of the body can only get so big before they begin to burst and leak their contents, releasing highly inflammatory glucose back into the bloodstream and surrounding tissues. To prevent this from happening, the very full fat cells signal to the other cells of the body to stop producing ATP. We're at capacity and we can't take any more. But the only way for the cells to stop producing ATP is for them to stop taking up glucose from the bloodstream. In order to slow down the amount of glucose entering the cells from the bloodstream, the cells develop a condition called insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is the cells of the body closing up shop and refusing to take on more glucose because the body cannot handle any more ATP storage. Simply put, the cells alter their insulin receptor sites so that insulin cannot dock and send the signals which cause the cells to open to glucose. This leads to a state in the body where the pancreas is producing and secreting insulin as an emergency response to high blood sugar levels, but the cells of the body refuse to receive and respond to the message of the insulin because they cannot handle or store any more sugar. This leads to obesity, chronically high blood sugar levels, insulin resistance, and ultimately diabetes. Diabetes, once again, starves the body's organs and tissues of blood and, as a result, oxygen, nutrition, immune system support, detoxification, and materials needed to build new tissues and cells that cannot reach their targets. This impacts every single organ and tissue in the body, leading to cardiovascular issues including blood clots, heart disease, thrombosis, blockages, strokes, high blood pressure, and heart attacks. Every organ in the body can become diseased as they are starved and cut off from their life supply. This can lead to infertility in men and women, erectile dysfunction, PCOS, kidney disease, liver disease, all forms of digestive illness and disease, all types of cancer, as the cells of the body literally caramelize due to the burning of sugar and thus stop working cohesively with the other cells of the body. Alzheimer's disease, dementia, Parkinson's disease, autoimmunity, arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, cataracts and blindness, balding, thyroid issues, wounds that won't heal, edema or swelling, rotting flesh, and an array of other diseases. Diabetes, or even pre-diabetes, which is a state of elevated blood sugar and mild insulin resistance, and resulting chronic diseases are rampant in our humanity. I would go so far as to claim that most humans in the Western world, and increasingly in other parts of the world, experience some level of insulin resistance, even slim individuals who appear to be doing all the right things. This disease is the result of low self-esteem, low self-respect, laziness, gluttony, and a tendency to take more than we need. It is the result of pleasure seeking, as overeating or overconsuming high sugar foods is often a way of triggering a biochemical response in the brain, which leads to the production of hormones which make us feel good. It is the product of avoiding how we truly feel and plugging that hole by consuming and overindulging on our external environment, taking more than our fair share of life in and turning it into avoidance and denial. Rather than choosing life, it is the act of choosing not to live, declaring that we care naught for ourselves, our world, and our place in it. It is a lack of connection with and respect for our naturalness and our humanness. It is the result of not properly providing ourselves with correct nutrition, not caring enough about ourselves or holding ourselves in high enough regard or respect and esteem to feed and fuel our bodies correctly. It is the result of a lack of self-love and a lack of self-worth. We are killing ourselves, slowly suffocating and torturing our bodies with our low self-esteem, and then we are over-consuming in an attempt to falsely prop up our flaky self-esteem. Then our inevitable and various resulting states of disease birth more self-loathing and further self-destruction, which propagates further mistreatment of our bodies. A vicious and spiraling cycle. This is a disease of the energy which flows through the Solar Plexus Chakra, and our humanity is well and truly under its spell. Unfortunately, even well-meaning individuals are led astray by the collective murkiness of this energy as they are fed misinformation by the medical and health industries, the government bodies, and the trained professionals in whom they place their trust. Those individuals who most strictly adhere to the guidelines of the food pyramid, upheld as the ideal way of eating, and who most regularly keep appointments with their doctor, who is also being led astray, are some of the ones who are suffering and languishing the most. We are plagued by misinformation and some very deliberate deception by those who wish to misuse the energy of the solar plexus in order to enrich themselves. They seek to keep the masses dependent on them and to keep their pockets filled with cash. The product of their own gluttony, low self-worth, and consequent overconsumption, they seek to take that which is not theirs and to take as much of it as they can procure. As a naturopath and a great lover of this humanity, this deception saddens my heart. I see so many good-hearted and well-meaning people become swallowed up by an industry which, if allowed, will consume them whole. I have seen so many in good faith become profoundly injured by the very ones who claim to be helping them. They become so tangled in a mess of synthetic chemicals and opposing information that they give up hope, give up trying, give up on themselves and their lives entirely. This is a widespread hijacking and abuse of the self-determination which should flow and be seated at the site of the solar plexus, where the vibrancy of the form-focused mind is translated into intelligent activity. The seat of individual free will and conscious choice is being occupied by external and self-serving forces, the collective energy of this center being hijacked for their own purposes and gain. To utilize and direct another's free will for personal gain is an energetic and physical crime which is being committed against humanity. But overindulgence is not the only manifestation of an imbalance of the energy of the solar plexus. Underconsumption and a casting away or suppression of the self can be harmful and a great cause for suffering as well. On the seemingly other end of the spectrum to the self-indulgent type of individual are the individuals who lack a sense of self. By nature, they tend to be meek and mild, quiet and shrunken, emaciated, anemic, pale, undernourished, indecisive, lacking opinions or perspectives, vague, floating, harmless, gentle, placid, faint, barely alive, apologizing for existing, and taking up as little space as possible. Unlike their obese, rotund, and gluttonous opposites, who take up far too much space and use far too many resources, these people tend to eat little, be little, take little, and consequently contribute little. This is the result of reduced solar plexus chakra energy, which manifests as low self-regard, a lack of self-determination, an absent sense of self, frailty, and a lack of presence in the form world. Almost like someone has thrown a very large bucket of water over the fire of the belly, knocking the gusto and enthusiasm for life right out of these individuals. These individuals are barely here. Often they feel that humanity is unnatural, a blight on the planet's surface, a danger and a threat to the natural world. They believe that humanity's footprint is too large, that they take too much and give very little. They judge their fellow imbalanced solar plexus chakra chums who sit on the other end of the spectrum and resolve to do the exact opposite to them, taking as little as possible. Often, these are the individuals who end up becoming vegetarian or vegan, though not always. However misguided, vegetarianism or veganism can be a deliberate choice made out of a deep sense of self-love and self-respect. We will revisit this point later. They cringe at the taking of life and so sacrifice their own instead. It is interesting to note here that vegetarians and vegans who are consuming a diet rich in nature's so-called superfoods are often pre-diabetic or diabetic. Not only are their diets heavy in carbohydrates, but they are also manifesting a diseased state of the pancreas or an imbalance of the energy of the solar plexus. Whilst I agree that our humanity is imbalanced in its approach to the natural world and that we do take much and have not yet found the ideal way to live harmoniously with our natural environment without squandering our own advancement, to sit in self-righteous judgment and condemnation serves no one. And strangling the life force which flows through your own body is not a balancing act of justice. Rather, such behavior is perceived by the natural world as foolish hypocrisy. Instead of cherishing the life which nature has blessed you with, your judgment will lead you to squander this gift in order to confound and contribute to the imbalances here. Harmony lays in the center, and in true harmony, there is no judgment. Relax and release your judgments and ask yourself truly, what are you feeding and thus co-creating with your energy? Human creatures are indeed natural creatures, and individuals of such a temperament, though they may believe themselves to be champions of the natural world, have lost sight of the natural cycles of life. By refusing to take up space and by attempting to take as little from nature as possible, they are blocking the natural and intended flows and exchanges of life force. Believing they are giving humanity the middle finger, they are actually isolating themselves to such a degree that they refuse the nurturance and support which is being freely offered by life itself, giving themselves and nature the middle finger instead. By judging and saying no to their own strength and liveliness, they cut themselves off from the sources of this strength and liveliness. They unplug themselves, becoming disconnected from the beautiful, wondrous life which exists and freely flows here. They refuse nourishment from the natural world and, consequently, the spiritual world. Life barely dwells in such individuals, as is evidenced by their tendency to suffer from conditions which manifest as low energy and low vitality. Representative of their unwillingness to drink from the wellspring of life, these individuals manifest malnutrition. They become vitamin, mineral, protein, and fat deficient. They waste away. Their bones become weak. Their digestions become weak. Their blood flow becomes weak. Their minds become weak. They become thin, frail, fragile, confused. They lose their memory. They have a weak heart. Their hair falls out. Their menstruation stops. Their sex drive leaves them. They are vitamin deficient. They have issues with methylation, which is the conversion of vitamins into their usable forms. They are anemic. Their skin is dry. Their nervous systems are strained and shredded. As they do not utilize their self-determination and do not choose to fight and stand for themselves, they fade away. They judge and squander the energy which flows through the solar plexus chakra, never fully coming to life. They ultimately refuse the great and wonderful gift of life which is offered to them. It is about finding a point of harmony and balance here. To be truly alive, and to be alive in every sense of the word, to grow, to explore, to evolve, and to joyfully belong here is to gratefully receive the gift of life which flows through you. Allow yourself to drink of life, to dance with life, to allow your heart to beat with the songs of life. Partake of life fully and learn to embrace the natural flows of life force here. Enter into deep communion with the natural world, never taking more than you need, but gratefully receiving nurturance, sustenance, and support from the natural and spiritual realms. Let nature support you, just as she supports all her other natural environments and creatures. An animal in the wild does not balk at death, does not fear death, does not judge even its own death. A creature in the wild is in place. It is one with the natural flows of life. It does not take more than it needs, but it does respectfully take that which it does need. All natural things love and nurture themselves. They experience joy simply because they exist. They do not place obscene significance or arrogant importance on their own existence, but for as long as they are alive, they choose themselves. They choose their life. They do not wish that they did not exist. They do not wish that they were in another form. They embrace life fully and completely, occupying themselves and utilizing the consciousness and the free will bestowed upon them in order to participate in life. Nothing in nature is wrong. Nothing in nature is better or worse. All of nature is precious and right. Everything in nature transforms, moves on, changes its shape and expression. Nature sustains itself, feeds itself, creates and builds itself out of its many depths. Feel your place in nature. Nature does not exist for you. You are not at the center of nature, more important than anything or anyone else, deserving of everything and anything you desire, but you do exist as a part of nature. Feel the preciousness, the sacredness, and the uniqueness in your existence. Feel the rightness in your life. Feel the rightness in the life which flows through and sustains all things. You are a part of this. Let yourself be a part of this. Let this connection and rightness birth a self-respect and a self-love which stirs within you a desire to take care of yourself, to nurture and look after this little piece of nature and life which has been loaned to you. Demonstrate your respect and love of the natural world by making self-loving choices which allow the part of nature which is within you to thrive and be healthy. Release the self-loathing which causes you to gorge and overconsume, or which causes you to deprive yourself of the joys of living, and replace it with a wonder and a respect which causes you to want to make loving choices. Bring yourself to life in such a way that you are uplifted, gratefully receiving the gifts and the support offered to you, and offer your support in return by looking after yourself, letting yourself be sustained, celebrating the life which is your own, knowing full well that you will one day return your body to the earth where it can act as sustenance for the natural world which has sustained you. Instead of judging humanity, focus your energy on becoming the kind of person that you wish other people were. If you feel unworthy or undeserving of life's support, then actively work to make your life one which is worth sustaining. Become a productive and contributing member of the human race. Become someone who it is worthwhile keeping alive. Become someone who you love spending time with. Become your own best friend and your own best partner. Cease looking outside of yourself to fill that void. Feel into your own potential and actualize that potential. This will become your greatest contribution. I challenge you to take some time to create in your mind a holistic impression of the best possible human creature you can imagine. What are their qualities? What is their personality like? What do they look like? How does their body function? What is their career? What are their interests? How does their mind work? What do they emote? How do they relate with other people? How do they cause other people to feel? What impression do they leave on their environment? What is the energy that they bring with them when they enter a room? What are their goals? What are their hobbies? Imagine someone who you could truly look to and admire in every way. Someone who, if everyone in the world was a little more like them, would cause the world to be a better place. Someone who you would love spending as many moments of the day with as possible. Someone who you would never get bored of. Build them up, imagine them, get an energetic impression of them. Now, it is your life's work to become this person, to give yourself a reason to choose yourself, to fight for yourself, to care for yourself, and to champion yourself. Reclaim your power and choose to consciously wield it in the pursuit and the creation of something worthwhile. If you sense a void or a shortcoming in yourself, remedy it through your own internal and external transformations. Do not place limitations on what you can achieve. Believe in your creative power and the strength of your self-determination. Reclaim your right to create your own reality. Cease disempowering yourself by waiting for someone else to come along and tell you that you are okay. Cease waiting for someone else to tell you that you are worth fighting for. Cease waiting to be rescued. Cease being complacent because what's the point when no one else is trying or living up to the ideal? Cease giving your power away and let yourself believe in the life which is yours. Do something productive with your life and your time. To transform yourself into the ideal which you sense, which is awesome and significant work. It will create meaning in your life, unlock your potential, unleash your will and your creative vitality, cause you to fall in love with living, feed your curiosity, encourage you to face and overcome fears, birth a deep love and self-respect, connect you with other people, reunite you with nature, and enable you to undergo transformations and healings which put you in direct contact with higher spheres and realms of spirit. This quest and transformation will bring you to life and will bring you a deep sense of self-worth, belonging, connection, uniqueness, and contribution. No more passivity. Don't be a passenger in your life. Become your life's conductor and your own reason for living. No more excessively taking from your environment. It is time to become a part of something. The ideal that you sense is your life's mission. Each person carries a unique sense of this ideal, but instead of realizing we sense this ideal because it is our personal mission to embody and become it, we waste time looking for it outside of ourselves, waiting for other people to become this ideal before we will bother improving or working on ourselves. We judge other people for not measuring up, or we desperately search for someone who does measure up, placing impossible demands on others, being constantly disappointed and being a constant disappointment. We interpret our feelings of not yet being complete as an indication that we are not capable of being whole, that we are only half a person and that we need to find our other half. We spend our lives trying to find the person who will finally cause us to feel whole and complete. This causes us to become bitter and disillusioned with life and other people as we constantly measure them against the ideal, which is actually uniquely ours. We are not meant to find that ideal outside of ourselves. It is shown to us because it is our responsibility to bring this ideal through, to embody it and to actualize it. That perfect person that you are looking for does not exist. That perfect person is actually a potential future version of you. It is meant to be your goal, your fight, your reason to live and to try and to conquer your fears, your means of finding a way to take life in and to turn it into love. This is the correct orientation and use of the energy which flows through the solar plexus chakra. This is the product and the goal of active intelligence. This is your reason for being and your contribution to the life flows here. All life is precious, including your own. It is not clever to squander the life which has been loaned to you. It is selfish and it disables you from being able to perform your service work. Your ultimate contribution here is dependent upon your full presence and participation. Life seeks to nurture and support you so that you can nurture and support life in return. It's time to start giving a shit. It's time to start choosing life, just as life chooses you. So that's all for this chapter. Again, there's a lot in that. And I highly encourage you to keep going through and revisiting, and remember that you're not necessarily absolutely polarized one way or the other in the overexpression or the underexpression. It's very normal to vary between the two, but what we're seeking is to ultimately heal and harmonize both extremes of expression and to find that point of equanimity and harmony which exists between the two extremes. Learning how to be balanced in this center and learning how to work with this energy in an appropriate and life and love fulfilling and creating way. So take the time that you need with that, unpack it, feel into it, work with the energy of the solar plexus chakra, and get ready for the exploration of our next chakra, which is the heart chakra. But for now, that's all. Thanks for joining me.